Hello, my name is Theresa Ferg, and I'd like to talk a little bit about the National Science Foundation research work that was completed in a couple years. The award was the Small Business Innovation Research, and that was given in a merit award and grant, and that was given in August of 2022. And the grant was completed in October of 2023. So there is some new science information that is important for letting teachers know the information so that they can actually include this new science in their curriculum and their pedagogical procedures, aligning to social and emotional learning, that's also known as SEL, and also in the areas of science, mathematics, and that would include information about the visual-spatial sequential working memory. It is a very interesting aspect of science today. It is very much an active field in science. And at this time, there is a continuous development of the definition of visual-spatial sequential working memory. And at this time, the most accepted definition is that there are 5 distinct cortical processes for visual-spatial sequential working memory. And the first would be transition and timing knowledge, and I'll show a demonstration of these in just a moment. Chunking of information, ordinal patterning, relational geometries and algebraic patterns. Also, finally, nested tree structures for language from an ordered list. So to talk about why visual spatial working memory is important in education, we would want to understand that a crucial aspect of this human evolutionary design is the use of the sequential working memory, that one must remember past, present, and the next steps in order to have a new idea. So here we have a demonstration on this poster board of the 5 sections that are the distinct cortical processes that are used for visual spatial working memory. So the first 3, 1, 2, and 3, are called transition and timing knowledge. So this is when you have a recognition of the pattern that represents the pattern over time. So sequential working memory. So we have a red block and a green block, red, green, red, green. And the idea is that those are recognized as a 2-element pattern that we would see over time. That's again the transition and timing knowledge. Chunking knowledge is when you're grouping additionally, also recognizing the transition and the sequence, but you're also grouping them to be able to remember those. So here's the first group, and then the next group, and the next group. And ordinal knowledge is when you have the first group referred to as first, second, and third. So they're in an ordinal pattern. So for the 4th definition, we have relational geometrics. And this image here, this visual image, is showing us with an octagon as a base with the 8 vertices that it has, if we are to create a square within that octagon at the vertex of 1, 3, 5, and 7, and then lay a second square on top of that in the alternating vertices, then that particular patterning is actually predictable. It's a method of also sequential working memory patterning that falls under this same definition. And research now shows that humans are able to predict sequentially this type of geometric image. Here we have algebraic patterns, and so the top sequence of A, B, B, then A, B, A, B, A, A, B, B, A, B, A, B is actually referred to as an algebraic pattern. And it shows that there was the 2 elements, then the two separate elements, different elements, and then a pattern of one each, then the two patterns of A, two patterns of B, one each and one each. And this is also a pattern. In fact, humans can remember sophisticated patterns of sequential memory up to as many as 16 or more elements. From this algebraic pattern, we can derive what is known as a nested tree structure of algebraic patterns. So the same pattern that we see here can be drawn in this manner, so showing each relation of each element to the next level and up until the final umbrella element, patterning all of the elements. From that patterning, nested tree patterning, research has shown that we're able to use the nested tree structures for language from then an ordered list. So it's the similar patterning, nested tree structure patterning, and it's actually, with the research today within the last 2 years, showing that it may well be the origin of language for humans. So now I want to talk about what is the prototype from the research that we conducted, and that is a visual spatial assessment of visual spatial intelligence. And from that information, VEC-Ed, the Visual Spatial Education Center that I'm the owner of and principal investigator for the research, has developed a new curricular unit called the Objective Emotional Approach. So education research about the visual spatial ability contributes to the generation of the new knowledge for creative expression. First, we have to test the prototype. In the new science course that's been developed, the Human Visualization Intelligence, the course will demonstrate why do educators need this information. And they need the information because of the natural human visualization abilities are separate pathways to human quantum thinking and not to be confused with the processes of quantum computing. Also, what is the difference for the way a computer sees and processes information? And that is that a computer, or AI, artificial intelligence system, cannot connect sensory and cognitive processes to create ideation similar to humans. And that is because a machine cannot experience instantaneous insight. One reason is because all computer systems are interconnected and human insight occurs to just the individual. That is a reason why humans have an unsupervised quantum thinking and intelligence that the AI computer machines do not. And also VEC-Ed, the team at VEC-Ed, the research team, welcomes any opportunities to demonstrate the array of quantitative and qualitative instruments that we have developed from our research for the creativity test. What's important in education is to redirect the students' intensity of interest in learning. Students today do not have the traditional interest in learning, say 20 years ago, that was in the standard for the classroom. So what might be the next steps for students? And the first would be to design lesson plans that have social emotional learning, SEL, as the first step to engage a positive initial response. And actually, that's what's happening in the classrooms today. It is a requirement by the Colorado Department of Education that all lessons and all units have explained and proceed with the SEL portion of the curriculum first in the lesson plan. Secondly is to encourage student motivation for experiential tasks aligned to the subject matter, such as project-based learning. Good news, that's been happening. More and more school districts are proposing the curriculum that is project-based learning. So we have two of the crucial aspects for students to increase their intensity of interest in learning. A third would be, it is crucial to identify within a lesson plan or a unit exactly how the visual spatial sequential working memory task would be developed. These tasks will redirect the students' over-focus of on-screen time, which is turning out to be a negative factor for student motivation. So VECED would like to offer workable solutions, and 3 examples of a new curricular addition to any subject would be: first, an example of the social emotional learning, and that is to address the initial SEL that's required in the classroom to help students choose to do the work of learning. And that project would be the making of a Guatemalan worry doll. Secondly, a solution for teachers can be to address the learning of logical computation with emotional support, and that is to learn, for example, mathematics, and that is with using an emotional communication game. And VECED has developed a game known as Matrix that uses emotional communication with a student group of 3 to 6 students so that they can help each other and collaboratively develop the mathematics learning and concepts that would be the lesson. The third possible solution is to address the chaotic emotional student behavior that is blocking their visualization abilities. And unfortunately, especially in some of the schools in the town of Pueblo in District 60, there is a high occurrence of chaotic emotional student behavior. And that behavior keeps them from being able to focus and concentrate in the classroom. So one way in which their visual, spatial, emotional working memory can be developed and if you would, reassigned or reset in their system, their perceptual system, is for the students to learn the basics of a martial art. And the reason for that is because martial arts develop this kind of order for the student. It's a physical, mental, and emotional combination and integration of the information from the martial art. We could perhaps talk about Taekwondo as an example. And when the students are able to do the work of learning the forms, remembering them, and standing in the balance in terms of each particular and precise movement, then they are redeveloping their visual, spatial, sequential working memory, which has been set back, if you will. There's not a balance anymore for the modern student because they have spent so much time and have over-focused with their photopic vision on just screen time, which is causing a lot of difficulties with their natural visualization processes. So some final thoughts on neurodiversity and for students. And since the COVID pandemic, many students and their behavior problems have been increased, and student confidence has decreased for their ability to choose an item to learn in abstract reasoning, in particular mathematics, or in particular the STEM courses. So numerous research studies state that students do not learn reading and mathematics on the computer. And again, this is known information that the students are not comprehending the reading as well as when they're reading from a book. And they also do not remember the mathematics training and concepts. They have to relearn them once they're off the computer. So in a sense, we could say that all students today, post-COVID, actually require an IEP, an individual education plan, because of the effect that the overuse of computers and overuse of screen time, especially for younger students, has altered their affective symmetry gauging response, which is aligned to the visual spatial working memory. And that these abilities need to be rebalanced away from the screen time for improved social emotional learning skills for students so that they can now reconcentrate in the classroom and have an interest and increase their interest and their intensity to learn. So in summary, understanding how humans function by evolution in a three-dimensional environment with the advanced knowledge of science is going to be paramount for even educators to learn.